When has satire ever been canceled? Has there ever been a satire site, show, talent that's ever been canceled?
Well, there's certainly been comedians who have been canceled, right? There's been comedians who have been attacked. There's been comedians who have lost their Twitter pages or their Instagram pages for making jokes that were considered beyond the pale, politically incorrect. Usually it's not for misinformation. It's unusual the way that we're getting, we got caught up in this whole thing where around the last election, there was all this concern about fake news influencing voters, right? So Facebook, Twitter, they were really concerned about the spread of misinformation and how it would lead people to believe false things about the candidates, about what was going on. And so they wanted to clamp down on that and control misinformation. So they started working with third-party fact checkers. And they started fact-checking stories that were factually inaccurate and rating them false.
Yeah.
So they could then flag them and let people know that they were false or take them down and completely pull them down. They started doing that with us. So we got fact-checked. The most notable one happened, the first big one that happened was in 2018. We wrote a piece about how CNN had purchased an industrial-sized washing machine to spin the news in before publication.
Which is pathetic. I mean, to say, you may want to say that one more time. And we're going to put the picture up here for people to see.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
CNN purchases industrial-sized washing machine to spin the news in before publication. Now, it's absurd, right? It's like that can't actually happen.
Yeah.
There's no real way to spin the news. That's a metaphorical thing. It's not a physical thing. So the joke is just silly on the surface. But they rated it false. And then Facebook threatened to deplatform and demonetize us because of that joke. So that's a great example right there of the type of action that's sometimes taken against comedy sites or satirists. It could be either because of misinformation or because it's deemed to be hate speech because you're making fun of the wrong people.
Did you see what...
you saw what just happened with Dave Chappelle recently.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle is, you've got people doing a virtual walkout at Netflix. It's been a story in the news now for weeks because he made comments and jokes that people didn't like. So they're trying to get him taken off Netflix. They're trying to get Netflix to take down the special.
Netflix is staying strong, by the way.
They're standing with him. Yeah. They are standing with him, which is great.
Which is impressive because Reed Hastings is on the left, and he gave $3 million to Newsom to help save his recall. So it's not like they fully agree with everything he's saying. It's just a business model saying we're okay back in Chappelle and leaving him on there.
Right. It's important. I mean, it's nice to see liberals being liberal and actually standing for free speech. Bill Maher is one of them I respect, who is always coming out against cancel culture.
Did you hear about what he said recently? It may have been in August, like 2 months ago, where he's having a conversation about how for the longest time, conservatives tried to do comedy and it never worked because Pelosi is not that fun. And he was talking about Dennis Miller. He says Dennis Miller is a very good comedian, but the moment Dennis Miller became a conservative and they had him do a 10-minute skit on Nancy Pelosi, you just can't do it. He says, but Sarah Palin, let's face it, she's I don't know if he called her stupid moron, something, he called her something like that. And he said, but today things have flipped. He says today, the stuff they're writing about and the stuff that the liberals are doing on the left, it's officially comedy. There's officially comedy for conservatives to have an SNL model to make fun of the left because half the stuff just doesn't make sense. You're making it easy for them. It wasn't the case 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Would you have guessed a Bill Maher saying something like that in 2021? A Bill Maher who's been known as a guy on the left.
Yeah. Well, what I respect about him is he takes his own side to task. It's one of the things that we try to do with our satire is make fun of we make fun of Trump like crazy. And a lot of people that follow us who are Republicans or conservatives who like our humor because we align with them politically, they can't stand when we make fun of Trump. But we do it anyway because Trump deserves to be made fun of.
Are those your best articles? Are those
some of them
the most viewed?
We did one on how some of the ones that you read are some of our most viewed. It looks like you looked up ones that had like the most page views or shares. We did one about how Trump claimed to have done more for Christianity than Jesus himself. And it was just a straight quote from Trump. Trump, I have done more for Christianity than Jesus himself. Now, that's believable. I find that believable, right? Believable. Because you're playing into Trump's ego. I could totally see him saying that.
So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.